have a question. What is your favorite song and how do you connect with it? Is it when you fell in love or through something really difficult? I'm your host, Tiffany Mason. Now join me as I interview others and we take a walk down memory lane with them. Let's get lost in why that music matters to them. Turn up your radio and let's explore Memories with a Beat. Hello, Podcast Land. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Memories with a Beat. And we're back. We're in season 3, and we may have a couple of repeat guests. And today is going to be one of those days. SJ Barakony is back, and I don't know if you guys remember his episode. He was my last one in season 2, speaking about the song from Creed and Rocky. And we're still waiting for the movie to come out. But such amazing insight into that song and how you connect with it. Much different than most people connect with songs, or more meaty. There was a lot more information there. There was a lot more connectivity, which I thought was great. So I am looking forward to diving into another song. I know when we first spoke, you had, 5 songs that we were thinking about. We were kind of going through them. So I'm so excited that we get to dive into another song. Thank you so much for joining me today, SJ.
It's a pleasure to be back as an invited guest. I thank you for this opportunity, and I really appreciate the positive feedback from you as the hostess. And of course, my true hope, I have faith that I was able to reach even one of your listeners, downloaders, with that journey through song 1. If not, here we are for song 2.
We'll give it a second stab. All right. Well, as you guys remember, I don't know if you want to quickly recap, SJ, what you do for a living and where you are, that kind of thing for my audience, or maybe if they missed the first time that you were
on. Certainly, I will take that in a couple pieces, sort of like you get a block of cheese or something. You probably should cut it in pieces before you eat it. I will do the same with that question.
Yeah.
So first, as of this recording, which is in the mid to late summer of 2022, I live and reside in central Ohio in the Midwest of the good old red, white, and blue of America. I do have a dream to be in another state, so by the time you hear this, or at some point in the future I might be, but for now, this is where I am. And why can I even talk about relocation so smoothly and effortlessly? It has nothing to do with the fact that I have stuff that I have to move like everyone else, but it's because I am a total futurist. The future of work is here, folks. If you are either unaware of it, or if you're attempting to hope that everything will be exactly the way it used to be, I would encourage you to, take some steps out of your familiar comfort zone and move into that learning zone, because the type of work that a lot of us do, and not all of us, of course. If you have a hair studio or, you're working in a factory that's in a fixed location, I totally get that, But if you are in what Peter Drucker called the knowledge economy many years ago, and there's obviously other things that have moved into that space as well, including delivering of education, for example, you can relocate fairly effortlessly depending on how tight your bonds are to where you are. So, with that said, everything that I'm doing professionally is incredibly portable. So very high treetop level, here's what those things are. First of all, I have a contract where here in Central Ohio, as long as I'm here, of course, I deliver an event once a quarter to help 5 startup businesses get an opportunity to present their idea, and it's crowdsourced voting. One way of looking at this is it's a much nicer version of Shark Tank. Second, I help a family business. I like to call it freelancing, but the owner considers me part of the home office staff, which however you want to phrase it, either way, it's independent work. And I work in the company, the business is called H7, and I support them in a couple different ways with the fact that it is a global community as of this recording in 39 states and 8 other nations. Next, I take on consulting contracts. And with these contracts, they vary. One of them that I have right now is to bring rural Ohio closer to suburban and urban Ohio. That's part of the contract's parameters. Another contract I have is just to help businesses, usually solopreneurs, to navigate through issues as they are learning the ropes of business. Could be basic marketing, basic sales, basic financing, business planning, strategizing, and perhaps if you're ready to duplicate yourself, staffing. So I do contracts like that as well. And then last but not least, yes, I have a lot of stuff. Last but not least, I'm in the educational field as an edupreneur, and my brand is the Education Sherpa. And as a Sherpa, I offer 4 Sherpa solutions to help households as well as workplaces lean into the future, have lifelong learning at the centerpiece of their home or their place of business, and lastly, to be more human. We need to be more human, even though we're going into the future with a lot of these trends which seem the opposite. There is no reason why you have to give up humanity if you have a robot working at your place. Okay? So, a lot of stuff I know.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, all of it is portable, and I bring that to the table as your guest, Tiffany. And again, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, awesome, SJ. I know you do have a lot of different avenues, but they all do support that thought process of thinking in the future and how do we learn to improve where we're at and get out of our cycles or think outside the box. How can we be sustainable? I love that was one of the final messages of the last episode, and I just love that so much. It's time to support ourselves and figure out what that means exactly. And I know that you're helping with, young entrepreneurs as well as established entrepreneurs. And now pretty cool that I guess maybe I've missed it before, but learning that you're helping businesses to, get that plan in place and duplicate themselves when necessary. So that's pretty exciting.
Yes, I like to say, and I wrote a guest blog on this, and I can give it to you if your audience would benefit by it, but sure. I refer to it as the glorious types of entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And I believe there are many of them. At the time I wrote the blog about 4 or so years ago, I counted 7 different types, glorious types, the energy of entrepreneurship, right? And that's a subjective number. But bottom line is being sustainable on your own is going to help you to embrace the future of work. It does not mean that you have to go in tomorrow if you're employed by someone else and quit willy-nilly, unless you literally are about to burn out or something. Then I would encourage you probably to do that. Okay. Like, for example, one of my favorite YouTubers, he went full-time almost a year ago, and he is very open on his channel that if he didn't do that, he didn't think he would be a good dad anymore because he was in a terribly toxic environment. So he took a little bit of a chance on himself, and obviously his wife had to support him. And he went off and became a full-time YouTuber, and he just recorded a video recently and said, I'm making just as much money as I did before, and my mental health has improved 100%. So that awesome. Is what I hope, generally speaking, beyond just the memories with a beat theme that you have, Tiffany, is come to this podcast and take away the fact that you can create your own job. And the job does not have to be the classical definition that the classroom has, which is about 100 years out of date. Okay?
Yes.
All right. You can create a job where you solve some kind of societal issue, whether it's on a macro level, bigger picture, or whether it's right in your cul-de-sac in your little suburb.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of these things can be done from pretty much anywhere. And that would be my encouragement. And again, I cite my buddy Cody because he deserves a shout out because he took a chance on himself. And here he is a year later. His channel has grown by like 30,000 subscribers and he did it. So anyway, that is the kind of things that I like to share.
2 things there where humanity came back into play is him taking a chance on himself, saying, I'm not going to be in this position anymore. I need to be human with my children. I need to be loving with my children, and so taking a chance on himself. And I think that a lot of people get caught up in, that AI is going to take over everything. Let's not forget that people have to be the one to create the AI. And AI can get us so far, but how many times have you been on the phone and you just wanted to talk to a person? So sometimes there's just that connection that you want of another person to say all the extra little words that AI maybe doesn't understand or can't put together to figure out exactly what you're trying to say. So yeah, there's definitely room for some humanity, and AI is not the end all to be all.
Exactly. And even with all of these, whatever your perspective is in this audience, folks, about big tech, and I have my own proclivities, we won't get into that because it's not germane.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of what your perspective is, big tech can be leveraged for good, or you can create little tech that can become perhaps big tech if you end up replacing yourself. And like, for example, if you don't like YouTube, like this dude obviously did, Cody did,
Yeah.
create your own YouTube. There's plenty of smaller platforms out there that would love to have you as a creator, as a part of the creator economy on it. So don't think you
Yeah.
have to join where everyone else is. It's like I've said in the past, Tiffany, not only may you want to live or think outside the box, but what about living outside of it, at least part-time?
Sure.
And what about creating other shapes, not just boxes, but what about triangles? What about hexagons? What about circles? Create these things that make you distinct, because those kind of skills are what will always be, at least in my reason of view as a futurist, in demand, no matter what futurist technology trends are happening.
Right.
Is that creative spirit, that stuff that cannot be easily replicated by a machine, at least at the time of this recording. And if it all does get replicated by a machine, I'm not sure if we will be here. You might want to watch the Terminator movies. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing.
Well, when you brought up the YouTuber that, if he doesn't want to be on YouTube, he could post somewhere else.
Yeah.
And definitely not a conversation I'm trying to start in the slightest. But, isn't that what Donald Trump did? He got kicked off of Twitter and another, I think, Facebook maybe. And so he's like, you know what? I'll create my own platform. So I think, as much as, you hate him, you like him, whatever. But, that's his entrepreneurial spirit. And he's always been an entrepreneur. Say that fast or say that slow.
Entrepreneur. Yes, and I'm the same way. Regardless of who in your audience, what their perspective is on the man, he's very polarizing. But it's a great example to attach yourself to, even if you struggle to say his name. Maybe you hate the man so much you can't say his name. Just call him DJT then, or whatever, or ex-president or whatever. But here's the thing. Look at it this way. He was blocked from reaching people on a couple platforms. And again, whether you agree or that is not is irrelevant here. But bottom line is, he said, I'm going to create something else. So if you are a Cody out there that maybe is not even comfortable on a YouTube, for example, but you know that you have a gift for creating content, chances are there's a niche, there's an audience out there for you in the creator economy, which is a subset of the independent workforce. Okay. And find that other platform. Odyssey is a platform that's out there that can use some more people on it. Rumble, there's a few others out there that can use some people on it. And it's just find something that you can do to add value to society and be that solutions provider. Do not be a problem identifier. There's plenty of those. And do not be a problem amplifier. There's some of those, and those people are a little tough to take sometimes.
Well, speaking of, or not speaking of, I guess, but just considering like alternative platforms and, being outside the box and all that kind of stuff, I would love for you to share with my audience what kind of song you chose. What kind of a song does an out of the box kind of person choose? So what song did you choose, and how do you connect with it?
I chose, and I am, full disclosure, total Gen Xer. We are the forgotten generation a lot of times, folks.
Yes.
You hear about the boomers constantly.
Yeah.
You hear about the millennials, which are Y, Gen Y, but the Xers seem to get, it's sort of like a sandwich with two thick pieces of bread, and the burger is like what that lady said, Wendy's, where's the beef?
Yes.
So I am going to bring out some Gen X here. So the song I chose for the second time, and again, thank you for inviting me back,
Of course,
is The Final Countdown.
Awesome.
It is a song by one of the numerous hair bands of the 80s, and I think they may have gotten into the early 90s. I'm not a musical Sherpa. I'm an education Sherpa. I think they may have made into the early 90s off the top of my head, but feel free to let us know if you're listening. But it's by Europe. And why did I choose it, and why do I identify with it? I chose it because it signifies a call to action. It's a final countdown. Okay? Does that mean it's a final countdown to something that you don't want to do? No. If you want to put it through that frame, I can't stop you. Your self-talk is your responsibility. But I look at it as a call to action because we are going through massive transformations in our world, in our nations, in our states, provinces, parishes, whatever, in our local communities, again, wherever you happen to be listening to this. And there's a CTA, a call to action, the final countdown. So that is the main, more professional reason. But why do I identify it more personally? And then how does the Venn diagram overlapping come into play? I heard this song so many times as a youth in the 80s, watching my favorite team growing up. My favorite team growing up in a city called Cleveland. If you know the state of Ohio, in the red, white, and blue in America, on the North American continent, Cleveland is known for a couple teams above all, but my favorite was the out-of-the-box team. So there's another tie-in. They were called the Cleveland Force. And my father, who was a solopreneur, one of the ways that he treated his wife and primarily his son, because I'm an only child, so there's another professional tie-in, it does link up, is he would put some money into Force tickets, just like some other family was buying Cleveland Browns tickets, Cleveland Indians, now Guardians tickets, Cleveland Cavaliers tickets, and he would take us to the games, and that would give us father and son bonding time as well as mom was there. So it reminds me of my dad and his solo business because I have one too. So notice how it all loops around. Too professional, a little bit of personal mixed in. So there's my little drawn out explanation of how this song fits into it.
Yeah. Did your dad play soccer, or what was his draw to Force? Or was it just primarily that time with you guys?
He wasn't much of an athlete, but he did put a little bit of time in the community where he had it, and it didn't last too long. I think maybe a couple seasons off the top of my, maybe 2 or 3. He did help coach a youth soccer team in our neighborhood. Now, he's not going to be mistaken for, I can't think of a good soccer coach off the top of my head. I'll have to think of Don Shula or something from football, or Pat Riley from basketball, or Tito Francona, or I'm sorry, Terry Francona, Tito from Cleveland Guardians now. But so he's not going to resemble that, but he did coach for a few years. But I think another part was, again, it was a little bit of a bonding time because he was busting his you-know-what-ski to support the family because my mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
In the 80s, that was an era where before the massive inflation started to show up more as we moved into the 21st century, you were able to do that. One-income families were far from uncommon.
Right.
Okay. It's a little less common now, probably a lot less common, but back then, my mom was able to stay at home, and that also gave him a chance to hang out with her a little bit because she had her favorite player and I had mine. So, and we would even be able to go up into what they called at the Coliseum where they played. We used to be able to go up, Tiffany, into what they called the loges, Loges.
Okay.
And the players would meet the fans up there. And we were able to get autographs of some of the players. And my mom took a picture with her favorite, and that lit her up for weeks. So this song has ties because this song was constantly played in the 80s at the game. The final countdown. Are we going to win the game? Is the Force going to win? Are they going to
Yeah.
beat the Pittsburgh Spirit? Are they going to beat the
Yeah.
Chicago Sting? Are they going to beat the LA Lasers? These are real team names, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
they did for several seasons. They did, and they made the playoffs. They never quite won the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
but they were one of the more successful teams. So that's all the memories
Aw.
coming back.
Yeah, I love that. What was the favorite thing that you got at the stadium? Did you get popcorn? Was there a hot dog? What was your favorite thing?
I would say either ice cream at the concession stands,
Mm-hmm.
or there might have been, like you mentioned, Tiffany hot dogs or something.
Yeah. Now, did they have a mascot?
Um, okay, you're going to get a kick out of this.
Okay.
Up until there was some sort of an agreement, and I think the agreement allowed them to keep it, if I remember right. There might be someone who wants to jump online and search this out because I haven't done this probably in forever, if ever.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, in the 80s, Darth Vader was used to introduce the team. And I believe they either had the approval of our man, George Lucas,
Okay.
or they found out a little bit late that they probably should have asked. And this is before the internet, folks. So for those
Right.
of you who are millennials or Zoomers, or maybe even late Xers, you're thinking Darth Vader and they couldn't figure out that they couldn't do this or whatever. Well, remember, the internet brought information a lot closer. Back in the day, you had to use this thing called a card filing system. You had to use this thing called microfiche. Okay? I kid you not, look this stuff up. It's in a museum somewhere. But if you're the Cleveland Force and you're the PR person, the marketing person, would you not want to be identified with Darth Vader?
Yes.
Because this is the
Yes.
80s. This is the original trilogy.
Yes.
We got done with 77, 1980, and 83. I'm talking going to these games in between roughly 84 and 88 or so, somewhere in there. And I
Yeah.
know that sounds like an ancient history, but here's the thing. It was coming off of the Return of the Jedi, for crying out loud. So,
Awesome.
Darth Vader, I kid you not.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. And as a little kid, that had to have been even more exciting. Like, you're seeing this team with your dad. It's like this fun night. And then all of a sudden, Darth Vader comes out and this amazing music at the end. Are we going to win the game?
That's right, because the final countdown, indoor soccer was an experiment in America. Okay? Indoor soccer didn't quite do it on a professional level. There was
Right.
something called the NASL, the North American Soccer League.
Okay.
It worked for a while, but eventually it died out. And then the MISL, the Major Indoor Soccer League,
Okay.
came into vogue, and that's where the Cleveland Force were a part of that league.
Okay.
And that was the attempt now to say, let's bring this kind of team for family-friendly entertainment to the forefront. The game was very exciting, so the final countdown by Europe, big song, very popular in the era of the cassette tape, and yes, that's in a museum too. Maybe even late 8-track here. Oh my goodness. Late 8-track, definitely cassette, and maybe very early CD. And yes, that's probably in a museum too. So these games were so exciting because they're indoor. The field is much smaller than the NASL's fields, and the ball is bouncing everywhere. And the next thing you know, someone hits a bicycle kick and it's in the net.
Yeah, cool.
And there's like a minute left, and it's like the final count. Anyway, anyway, there you go.
Yeah, awesome. I love that so much. And then, do you feel like this is a song that, like, do you ever put it on, like, you just randomly choose, like, you know what? I'm going to put this song on. I haven't heard it in a minute. I think I'm going to listen to it right now.
I have in the past, yes.
Yeah.
In fact, since I picked this song later on in the day or whatever, because here's the thing, it's been a little while.
Yeah.
But the song still has, as you can tell, hopefully from my storytelling here, has a lot of meaning to me.
Yeah.
And again, professionally, personally, all interwound together.
Yeah.
Okay. since we are talking 80s here, if you remember from the original Ghostbusters, Tiffany and audience, where Egon said, "Do not cross the streams."
Yes.
I have violated that willingly with this because I have crossed my professional and personal streams with my memories of this song.
Yeah.
And with that said, yes, I have listened to it. I will again, because it's a very upbeat song again when you put the right frames on it, the final countdown.
Yeah.
And again, those memories are so thick of how it was used during a time when that Cleveland Force team was really good.
Mm-hmm.
We were counting down to their latest victory, and then we would go up to the loges, Loges again. And a lot of times we got to meet the players within an hour after the game. And again, I can still see my mom going plumb loco when she got a picture with her favorite. And there's probably a picture of me with a couple players too somewhere out there. I don't know where it is. And again, this is back when there was no smartphones. Oh my goodness, we survived. So
you had to go get your film developed?
That's right.
Was it a 110 camera?
Yes, and it took forever too. You sometimes had to wait 2 or 3 weeks. Can you imagine telling a Zoomer that you have to wait for several weeks to get your pictures?
And mind you, we didn't know what we were really taking a picture of.
No.
We had a good guess. And selfies, forget about it.
No. No, can you imagine those big old cameras, just like those big old long, those long and thick and heavy car phones?
Yes.
Which were persisting even into the early 90s even. Let alone the 84, 88-ish or so where I'm drawing these memories from. So this is the exact world, and it's like you're thinking about the final countdown, and then you can fill in the blank to what? In this case, my memories are to another victory. And you can apply that professionally, because what are your final countdown to your next professional victory? Okay?
Yeah.
And again, you don't want to pat yourself on the back too much, but little victories, especially if the week is not going maybe as well as it should, or maybe you're having a tougher month.
Sure.
Celebrate with the final countdown, that next victory that you have. Play the song and allow it to pump you up, sort of like, and I'm going to date myself again, when you pump up your sneakers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, yes. Or what was that old SNL thing? We will pump you up.
Yeah. So, like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right. So anyway, allow it to pump you up would be my advice personally, but as well as professionally.
Well, I think that this is divine timing that I'm hearing this, because I may be in a little slump, maybe. And so I think that that's smart to frame this song as the final countdown to the next victory. And then as I'm listening to you tell this story, I just know like how passionate you are about your businesses and driven that you are. And so I could see you like, having this negotiation for a contract, and you don't have an answer yet, but you get in your car and you're so excited and you've got such a great adrenaline rush that you put this song on. That's what I had playing in my head.
It is a very good image, and the RAS filter is a powerful thing, the reticular activating system. And if you can see yourself doing it, if you can visualize it, I cited this book, and that was in the show notes from my first appearance, but that Ant the Elephant book comes back into my play here.
Yes.
You're visualizing it. Okay.
Yeah.
You are saying, okay, this is what my future is, or even my present reality, or close to my present reality. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we are all going to have times where we fall down and go boom, but we don't have to be Humpty Dumpty and be put back together again. Okay. It's a part of the professional world.
Yeah.
Is you cannot expect, even if you're getting a paycheck from a third party, you cannot expect that every day is going to be, like that John Lennon song, I think from 1980, imagine there's no fill in the blank, right? Yeah. There's always going to be something that might not be as good, but then again, reframe it. And this song has tremendous potential to literally pump you up full of enthusiasm, positive energy, and instead of being de-edified and deflated, edify or lift up. Okay.
Yeah.
And then lastly is encouragement. Be encouraging. So that is what that song, in another way of framing it and putting a lens around it, or a fishbowl, however you want to visualize this, that's another way to do this.
Well, I love when I do interview people and they give me, like different insight or different memories, I guess, with their song. And then when I hear that song next, I get to have that same experience over again from the interview. So I think this has to go on my motivational playlist, that like when I'm trying to like get myself out of a funk, I think this is going on there, SJ. I think it's going to be me and the final countdown and thinking about that next victory. So I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for the insight and the stories with the song.
No, it's my pleasure. And again, my only hope is that I have done three things with everything we've shared today: is serving, solving, and sharing.
I think you tied it all together beautifully with a bow.
I appreciate that feedback, and thank you for the invite back. And it was a pleasure to again be able to draw some lessons out of a song from the mid-'80s that, again, depending on your generation, you may never have heard of, or it may be like, oh my goodness, he knows that one too.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it out there in podcast land. There is a good possibility we may have to wrap the season up with SJ. I know that he's got one more song hanging out. Podcast land, I hope that you have enjoyed this song and have enjoyed SJ's memories and thoughts to this beat. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? You never know what rabbit holes we'll get to go down and explore. Were you reminded of anything? Or anyone? Share what it was with me in a review. Honestly, the reviews don't do me any favors other than knowing people like you are listening to this podcast. Insert cheesy wink. However, the ratings do help, so leave me 5 stars. You know you wanna. This podcast was produced by Virtual You, supporting you in all things podcasting. To connect or check me out on social media, I know you're just going to stalk me. But see the show notes, as always, for details. Can't wait to dive into my next guest's memories with a beat. Hit subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next episode.